name is Eric Aldrin, the Director of Marketing here at MLive. It is our pleasure to welcome all of you into our space today for a very special presentation of the mornings at MLive. So without further ado, Matt Targett from Google.
How's everyone doing? Good? Good. So, I'm Matt Targett, I'm from Google. That much you know, and you're about to understand that I'm also from Australia. So, I apologise for the pirate English, apologise for the vague sarcastic jokes, but if you need me to slow down, repeat anything, just throw something at me, raise your hand, it all works. So, to get started with it. So, I come from Australia, a place called Melbourne, Australia, and my grandmother, she's an immigrant from Croatia, and she's very cute. She's the only person in the world who calls me Matthew. And back in the day, she used to ask me, Matthew, can you bring the internet with you to my house? Alright, yeah, I can do that. Just take my phone and go through Google and help her find things that are nearby and whatnot. Then I asked the question, like, how much paper would it take to actually print the internet and bring the internet with me? And the answer is 16 million trees, because there's 136 billion standard pieces of paper, which is quite a lot. So I think it's important to know what Google's mission is, excuse me. And that's to organise the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And it's very broad and it hasn't changed for a long time. When I say a long time, Google's actually quite a young company. If it was a person, it'd be a teenager, still be in high school, right? So it's quite ubiquitous, it's also quite young. So what I want to show is a video of what people search for, and we can get started after that.
For the people out there wondering what this is all about, whether it's about courage or controversy, well, I'll tell you what it's all about. It's about what happens from here.
Thank you, and good night.
Live, fight like hell.
It's not just about one person. It's about thousands of people. It's about all of us. Accepting one another.
This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality.
We're all different. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And while it may not be easy to get past the things you don't always understand, it is absolutely possible if we only do it together.
Every year, amongst the trillions of searches, that 15% of them are unique, right? So we have to find out after the fact why they're unique and why people have never seen them before. And part of the reason is that people are searching from their phones and they're searching differently than they have in the past. So there's a whole bunch of learnings that we've set out to figure out. And that's what I want to share with you. And after that, we'll talk about some of Google's products, our partnership, and answer questions anytime. So if you do want to interrupt me, as I said, raise your hand. So mobile searches are now exceeding desktop in 10 countries. Must be more than that by now. There's a lot of people searching from their phones. I see some people doing it now. I'm not the Matt Targett who played football. I'm Matt Targett, the Olympic swimmer that's been outdone in the search rankings recently. So yeah, I want to talk about mobile for a second. I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and actual mobile phone. So who remembers this? Literally bigger than a breakfast stand. And it was a Motorola Dynatac. It was $3,995 back in the day. So how things have really changed. talking about Moore's Law, and this is how I remember it actually. Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. So my first cell phone was this one. It's a Nokia 5110. Anybody have this phone? So what do you remember from this phone?
Super nice.
The answer is usually Snake, right? Remember we had that one game? Everybody played the same thing with all those pixels. I spent way too much time. I was at school like this. Nothing changes. But what I also remember is you press 833-998-06-3377777777777243. That would spell out text message. Right? Nothing should change. These days we swipe or we even talk to each other. So, yeah, this was my first one. And this is still a bit before here. This is 2005. Anyone recognize this image? 2005? Yes?
The Pope inauguration.
Absolutely, Pope Benedict, 2005. I can see a flip phone here. Maybe 4 or 5 in this whole image, and then you fast forward Francis, 2013. Have a look at that, right? So, in essence, we're saying that people have their phones on all the time. People freak out. There's some crazy stats about how many people bring their phone to the bathroom, using the bathroom. It's the first thing they touch in the morning. And there's a real thing called nomophobia. It's a fear of being without your cell phone, so old service. And so the stat from Morgan Stanley is that 91% of people have their phone within 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's hotels that will lock up your phone for a fee, and it's crazy. But I'm trying to say that people don't go online, you now live online. There was a point in time where you'd go at home and you'd dial into the internet with that awful sound that I won't try and imitate right now, and you would sit there and you'd have a session. And the session doesn't really exist anymore. The people are always figuring out their phones at little moments, right? The Climate Perkins Caulfield study said that we check our phones 150 times a day. I'm more like 500, but I guess this is an average. And part of this is we call them moments, right? And not all of them are relevant. It's a text message, it's communicating. But there are also some moments that are highly relevant to businesses and SMBs, and in Google we call them micro moments. In essence, the 4 moments are broken up into I want to know moments, I want to go moments, I want to do, I want to buy moments. And each of them are very important to realize that people act with their phones, they act differently to different moments. And I just want to take you through them really briefly. So, from the start, I want to know moments. 2/3 of people are looking up more than they did a year ago, 65%. And sometimes I want to know turns into I want to go. I want to go will be, this is actually my favorite stat in the whole thing. Since 2011, searches for near me, it's not up here, searches for near me have increased 34x, right? Someone looking for, like last night, I saw a steakhouse near me, I found one across the road at Shophouse, right? That is very, very powerful to know that back in 2011, a search query didn't include near me at the end. So being able to use phone's location and GPS, it's a very powerful thing. If you're not ready to capture that, you're missing a lot of opportunities. So 82% of people turn to a search engine to look for a local business, which is a lot. I want to do moments. This is largely about YouTube. Huge increase of how-to videos. I think there's a stat around millennials, and I'm going to butcher it so we do a ballpark, but I think it's around 70% of millennials think they can learn anything from YouTube. I don't need to go to college, I go to YouTube, I'm fine. And truth be told, when I was interviewing at Google, I spent countless hours on YouTube. Like countless hours on YouTube watching Hal Berry and the Chief Economist, videos about AdWords. There's so much to learn if you're interested, just out there. But so I guess I fall in that category. The other day, you might have seen those moments that I watched the how-to video instead of calling somebody in to fix my bathroom. Like, how can I fix it? Went to Home Depot. That's I want to buy a moment, I want to go a moment. All these things sometimes combine and overlap. So I want to do is largely about YouTube, but also search. And 82% of people consult their phone inside a store. Who has a retail business here? Hands up. You found people in store, price comparing, looking up information. That's a real thing. We found that I'll use the example of Sephora, and ask me why I know so much about Sephora, the makeup brand. But they've done a really good thing when they created an app understanding what their consumers needed. And so what they were doing in their store is they were looking at reviews, they were price comparing, and they were also trying to remember what they had. So Sephora has this app which has your purchase history, you understand what I bought before. They have comparisons of what they have in store and reviews, and really help people along understanding that consumers have changed and we're trying to help them with it. So they have a really good strategy, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. And this is a local search app. Basically tells you you can shop on a PLA, and it will tell you how far away the store is as well. So that's another one to buy moment. So what I'm really trying to highlight here is more so on the right-hand side, the unscripted decisions. That living in a world where it used to be very easy and straightforward, like back in the days of PNG, you would watch a television ad, you would go to the store, and people realised that an uptick in store traffic was from the TV ad. You would put an ad in the newspaper, you would realise that people go this day or the next, you would realise from the newspaper ad. That's still possible, but these days there's so many outlets and so many ways you can be found, you can be discovered, you can be advertised, that the decision's unscripted. People can jump around from one to the other. These days people have a high expectation for relevance and a frictionless experience. I'm sure people here know Uber, and part of the reason I think Uber is so successful is it is a frictionless experience. They have your credit card. I live in New York City, so fumbling around to get your credit card and having a tip and all these things and hailing a taxi, like some of these moments are necessary, right? So I once again, high expectations, and also the immediacy of access. People expect to have things immediately available. Very few people go on the second page of search results. Everybody is spending less time in terms of sessions, but expecting to get more out of it. So we did some research and data, and didn't want real people here. And what we have is a selection of people who said, did some ethnographic research and said, hey, show us how you use Google. And that sounds ridiculous because billions of people use it, but it's actually created some pretty eye-opening things with the study. So top left, I think I've memorized this, so give me a score out of 8. Guy named Ben. Yes. So Ben, he woke up with a swollen eye at one point and went to the eye doctor, and the doctor says, you need contacts, you need to change this. So he went on his phone, he looked up 1-800 contacts, decided he wanted to buy there and then, went home to his laptop or his desktop computer and ordered online there. Next to him we have Mabel. So she, I think she was showing it off right now. She saw a haircut, one of her favourite celebrities, and searched how to do this haircut. Lo and behold, she did it herself. This is one of the more important ones here, is Erica on the right. And you see her outside the side of her new house. This is her second house, and her family got bigger. And her and her husband, their first house and their mortgage, they sat down in the kitchen with their laptops, and they figured out, okay, this is the mortgage calculator, this is how much we can do, this is our budget, this is where we can get money from, this and the other. She found herself doing this research and stolen moments, so waiting in line for Starbucks, right? Waiting in line, waiting for her kids to be picked up from school. All these little moments that added up to the exact same destination, which was a house purchase. Middle left, we have Kathy. So to save some money, Kathy decided she was going to make cappuccinos at home, right? And washing up, the milk thrower broke, and she said, okay, cool. Went online, found one, ordered one. So she took care of it before it even hit her to-do list, right? She got one from Amazon, but the interesting thing is that her husband, a few weeks later, and I don't know if they buy like flimsy blockers or like really aggressive at washing, but he looked online and found a store nearby and went and bought the store. So it's really about where people look. I think this is Mal, right? Probably butchered it. Sorry, buddy. Had a really bad day at work. And he decided, you know what, I need to go back to school. This is terrible. And I think he actually went to NYU. This is a photo at Washington Square Park in New York. And so, in between, like in his lunch break and all these things, he started looking up, where am I going to go to school? Can I afford this? Where should I be? And found his way to some further education. This one's going to push me. I think it's the goal. Damn. Do know what Gianni was doing. Sort of going back to the Sephora example. She was in Australia we call them chemists. What do you call like a Wall Street CVS? What do you call that? Drugstore? Pharmacy, right. She was in there and she had something, I think it was a cold sore, right? And she sees the store brand and the expensive brand. And she's looking at them. She's like, why is one 4 times more expensive? Usually they're pretty close to each other. She looked up, she's online, she's figuring out, there are the reviews, this is what I'm looking for. This is not a phone call, I'm just trying to highlight. And she found out that the one that was 4 times more expensive was better and worth it for her, and she ended up buying that one, doing the research in store. Really struggling in this bottom row here. Give me a second, comes to it. I'll just tell you the story. So this is Danielle. She had a second kid, and someone gifted her a stroller. And I don't know what happened to the instructions, but she couldn't figure out how to do it. Looked up a how-to video, found one on YouTube, told her how to set it up. This is Leaf in the bottom right corner. Leaf and I imagine, be good friends. He's a traveling guy. He ended up in Queens, in New York. Turned up at his favorite pizza place, it shut down. And so from there, he says, best pizza in Forest Hills. Turned up somewhere else, really enjoyed it. And it's one of those things that happened in the moment. Like, I don't know how he would have done it 10 years ago. I've sort of forgotten. But so these are like real people and real stories of how people use Google, and you don't actually recognize that you would because it's so ingrained in daily life and how people operate these days. So what I'm trying to say is that we're connected. We're connecting people with the physical world and the digital world. And part of how we do that, actually, so a lot of what I was trying to show you is that most moments begin on mobile and they end up elsewhere. There's a terrible animation I'm putting here. It's a bit bumbly, there you go. So whether it be like a tablet, desktop, but the more important ones here are the phone call and in-store. And so I think that's quite important that people have to figure out how to get to where you are, how to contact you, because a lot of people actually want to talk to a real person. That's very important to realise, and there's a certain amount, there's a little bit of effort that goes into making sure that Google knows where your store is, that making sure that Google knows what your phone number is, making sure that Google can see it, that people can see it on the first page or early on in the search results. So, just a little anatomy of the Google ad. This animation is killing me right now. Come on. Here we go. So this is understanding the results page. I told you about my bathroom thing at Home Depot. The screenshot. So the paid results are on top, the organic results are underneath. And the difference is simply the name. But Google's very careful about the ads they put on top and make sure that they're relevant to the user, because there's three parts to it. So Google wants the user to be happy and seeing relevant results. But we also want the advertisers to be happy and getting people to click on their ads. So we're trying to keep everybody happy at the same time. So this is actually quite interesting. You may not have seen this. This is a heat map that's seeing where people look when they see the Google search engine results page. And so initially, there's red areas where people are looking, or their cursor was, and after 8 seconds, this is where it is. A lot on the left-hand side and a lot up the top. So it's very, very important. So what I work with is the difference between search engine marketing, which is the ads above, and search engine optimization, which is pushing everything as high as possible for free while working with your own websites and information. And so one thing that's very important that you didn't realize most people do is you can extend the ad with extensions, right? So these are links that are going to help you get to where you want to go. So for me, it was find a store near you. The kitchen and bath event might have been useful as well, but 25% off the clients, not so much. And it really helps extend your real estate, which increases your chances of being clicked, which is what which is what a lot of people are trying to do. So the ranking here, this is a very simplistic version of it, but your ad ranking is a function of how much you want to pay. And the thing about it is with Google Ads, you never, first of all, you don't pay if nobody clicks, and secondly, you never pay more than you want to, right? So if you can afford 50 cents, or you can afford $5 or $50, you never pay more than that. So it's a function of that. Quality score, how good your website is. I was talking about how we want a good user experience. Google figures out how mobile friendly your website is. If you search for your own business right now, you can see in grey underneath mobile friendly, right? And if it doesn't have it, you're probably going to be searching for quite a while because Google's now pushed everything that's mobile friendly, understanding that people use their mobile phones a lot, are higher organically. And the extension, added extensions impact, that's showing people that you have an address, location extensions, these things that are helping people find what they need quickly. That's something we're going to favour. So, this is something I was talking about with somebody else. It said, an ice cream promoter that don't actually sell cappuccinos in rain, but there's a store in New York City called Saturdays, which is a surf store. And if you've been in New York, you sort of hear it, you realise that the surf store isn't going to do too well from November through to April, right? But they do sell coffee, it's a cafe. So if they're not advertising their t-shirts for 6 months a year, they can advertise their flat whites. And so it's really interesting to know that depending on the weather, day, all these variables, you can show a different message that's more relevant to the people that are reading it. Same sort of thing, you can change things that are time sensitive. Here we've got sales that end in 1 hour. We've got different sizes, and you, instead of writing a different ad for every product you have, you can programmatically do that to show them up. And there's also remarketing, which is a way of saying, hey, I know you're interested, you already clicked on my ad, I know you like purple t-shirts, here's the purple t-shirt you were looking at, if you're still interested, the offer's still available for you. And even if you didn't check it out last time, how about I offer you free shipping or something to try and get people through the digital door or even to your physical store. It's quite a powerful thing. This is probably the most powerful of all of them. It's called Google My Business. In essence, this is oversimplifying a little bit. It's you telling Google, this is where I work, this is my phone number, and I want to be found in the search results with my hand up, right? That really helps Google see where your business is, send people when they're looking for something near me, it's then categorized. It's very, very important. So 3 out of 4 smartphone users who contact the business, they're found on their phones. It's kind of no surprise to me. And also making it easy to get in touch. Phone number, driving directions. A lot of people visiting a store within 5 miles. It's also one of those things that if somebody within like a block of your business is more important to you than somebody in the next town over, you can advertise and you can do what's called bullseye targeting. People joke about my name Target and this thing all the time. But you can say this is more valuable to me, I'm willing to pay more for somebody on my blog than I am somebody that's 10 miles away. And that's something that I find very powerful, and I'm trying to do all the jokes that I made about my last name. And also, it's very important just to make sure your phone number is correct online, check it out. So that someone who's trying to contact you, trying to call you, they're able to do that. There's also being able to put your business hours so people aren't calling you in the middle of the night. It's very important to get that digital hygiene correct. So, and this is just a few stats about the amount of phone calls. Alright, I want to talk to you about one thing. I just talked about Google, the #1 search engine in the world. To be fair, I'm going to talk about the second biggest search engine. Does anyone know what that is? YouTube. Someone say Yahoo. You heard this before, right? There you go, joke around. I just want to talk about it quickly. This is something I was thinking about this the other day. I went to stay at a friend's house at their beach house, and the kid was playing Xbox, so there's one big screen. He had YouTube open next to him. He was watching somebody play another video game, and he was Snapchatting at the same time. The guy has 3 screens in front of him. I don't know how he oscillated his attention, but he seemed to do it just okay. Another colleague tells me about his twins that are so used to technology, they'll go up to a TV screen and try and swipe across. Which is crazy, but the idea is that 30% of smartphone users multitask while they're watching TV. I was doing it last night. First of all, I don't have a TV at home. Luckily, I was at the hotel last night to watch the debate. First time in a few months, and now I'm pretty excited to watch that. Was anybody else watching the debate last night? Seen it? More than that, right? Maybe that's proving my point. No, but the Bobby Fish movie was pretty good. Beside the point. Cord cutters, people who don't have cable, And even within my hotel, I had a Netflix button. It said, here's all the streaming, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Hulu, you can go to Netflix from your hotel, which used to be TV, which is quite interesting. So there's content that's found exclusively on TV. There's content that's on both. You found during the Super Bowl that every big company put their ads either on YouTube before or when they were aired at the Super Bowl, which is pretty cool. And also had somebody from this office come with me to the Super Bowl. I don't know where you are, but but there's also content that's exclusively on YouTube, and the neat thing about it is you can put it up for free. If you wanted to advertise at the start, everybody's seen these typical ads. What you don't know is that you can see 5 seconds of it for absolute free, and at that time you can choose to engage or not, disengage. So it's inviting people to look at your content. So at 5 seconds, even 10, 15 seconds, it's free for somebody to watch. They're free impressions that you wouldn't get on TV. Every ad you put on TV, you're paying for in some way, shape, or form, which we think is great. You're only going to get people that are engaged and want to watch what you have to offer. And start with that, the people are 75 more engaged than when they're forced to watch that. So people aren't oscillating between screens. They're like, here, it's okay, I'm only watching 5 seconds, skip, or actually that's quite interesting. I keep talking this screen my phone up. That's more interesting. I'd like to watch things inviting. So, what I was talking about before is that the TV is very difficult. These days, it's very difficult to figure out how consumer behavior drives it. Do they find it from TV? Do they find it from newspaper? Do they find it online? I'm not kind of sure. The online side of it is very easy. Well, not, excuse me, is possible now. I wouldn't call it easy. When I was in college, quite a long time ago, one of my ancient teachers would say this quote all the time: half the money I spend advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know one half. So this guy was the founder of modern marketing, John Warner. Anybody heard that quote before? So the idea with attribution in Google Analytics, which everybody here at MLive is qualified to use, the idea is that you know where your money is going and how it's returning its ROI. And then what the square round is supposed to be Avinash. He said this is the ARA analytics guru. He's like the best within Google. He has that blog. But he says you're using the same metrics to measure your business a year from now. Something's wrong with your business or your metrics. And saying it's so possible to backtrack where traffic came from and understand how people are using ads, search, even Facebook and social, all these things. That it's important to be able to know how to do that, or at least work with somebody who does. The example down the bottom I have is that a search path might go from engine noise to car clunking to transmission repair, or in the case of something like a longer purchase cycle, like a car. There are a lot of people that the cost shop, right? They would start with Ford Focus and then end up with different brands and do all this. And most of that comes from a phone, and it's really interesting. We did a study I can share with people on how people consider brands, and car dealers used to get 5 dealership visits back in 2007, 8, something like that. 5, and these days it's 1.7, right? So people are still researching, they're doing less in person, they're doing most of it online. So I can answer questions about that later, but analytics and attribution just helps you figure out how people are getting to your store, how people are getting to your site, how people are getting to your phone. And that's quite powerful, because from there, you can walk the information back and say, you know what, this ad's working really well for me, I'm wasting money here, I'll put more money there, or optimize what I'm doing on this channel. And I'm always reminded of this is my favorite soccer team in the world right now, FC Barcelona. And it's not always about conversions, which would be the top goal scorer, Lionel Messi. These guys are 3 forwards. It's also about assists, right? It's not just about the last peak, which is what people back in the day with old desktop sites used to be like, this many people visited the site, like 1,000 had this little ticker down the bottom. So not relevant anymore. The idea is that it's how people got there, whether it be through a display click, a search click, a social ad, YouTube, any of these things, and trying to figure out how that came about. And so it's important to understand how each channel works. this is not one account in particular. I'm just trying to show the difference between an assist and a conversion, right? And some assists build into conversion, so it's important to have a comprehensive strategy. I'm not going to sit up here and say Google's the only thing for you. It's important to have everything. You know, I travel a lot, and this the idea about like reputation management. I travel a lot, and if I go to a hotel, I don't care if I usually say FPG hotel. I don't care if it's part of the chain of my loyalty. I'll always look at the place I'm going to make sure there's no bed bugs or terrible people, anything like that. So it's important to figure out a lot of these things online. And you know, social media is just about how and why people find you. And so it's not just assists and conversions, but it's also about retaining customers. There's Avalanche, that guy I spoke about earlier, talks about Seek, which is your largeable addressable audience. Think, which is a largeable addressable audience that are interested in what they have to do. Do, which is then going to be people like interested in buying right then and there. And most marketing is covered there, but what he has afterwards is something called care. And the idea being it's a lot easier to keep a customer than it is to find one. And this is where direct paid social media and all these things are, and also about caring for your existing customers. And that's very important to think about too. So, we're at the end here. A lot of content. Screwed up at least 5 times, if anyone was counting. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. My first time in Grand Rapids. I love it. I hope I can come back one day and feel free to come up and ask me questions. Not about male modeling, but anything about Google and even my swimming careers like that. So, thank you so much.
One more time.